Okay, that wasn't recording at all, so I'll try again. So, hello everybody, this is my first comeback video from my old channel. Yes, I had to shut it down because of some issues that I had in real life. The people who I had issues with happened to know about my channel, so I've had to basically shut it down, cut them off, and they won't find me again, most probably. Yeah, so I'm starting again. It was a bit of a shame because I had quite a few people on the old channel. I'm hoping to reconnect with this community again. I released my natural law video back then, so this is my first video from the old channel, at least. But I was hoping to get that out to a lot more people, because I think that's the main message that I wanted to put across. Aside from the organic portal videos and metaphysical videos, it kind of tied everything together into one framework. So if you haven't seen the Natural Law documentary, which is just it's a refinement of Mark Passio's 8-hour seminar, it's packed into just under 3 hours. Please check it out, because I think that the understanding of objective morality is what the consequences of human behavior is within the external world, and how it's the closest thing you can get to a science. In fact, actually, it is a science. It's a science of morality. What are the objective consequences in reality in relation to physics of human behavior? And moral relativism is unfortunately still rampantly spread within the hive mind. And that's recent times, like maybe you guys know from my old channel, I've just had complete apathy with the resistance, because it's all based upon appealing to government to loosen the chains. It's just totally within this fabricated box, and the people who are being involved with these protests, and even just talking to institutions, they are empowering their existence. That's how egregores and thought forms work. They are contributing to this mental construct, which is basically keeping it alive. The number of individuals putting their mental energy into this abstract entity within the astral plane is giving it substance. But so do check that out, and I'm happy for those who have found me already to reconnect. But so during my time away, I did make a list of some things that I wanted to go over, perhaps make smaller videos. And let me see. Alright, so this is a good one. So I've been having a think about this 5 sensory portal or program that we're resided within, and the presence or lack of individuated consciousness within these organic portal flesh avatars, making you a sovereign flesh avatar, which is why I've named this channel what it is, because I am a sovereign flesh avatar. I stay as far away from the hive as possible, and my relationships with people are based on morals, values and principles, and my respect for people is them as individuals, not what they have done as a autonomous response within a hive organization, just based on blind belief without understanding religious mindsets. That's what it is. There's this individuated presence, which is the soul mixing in with this 4D space and time experience, and I could even argue that the soul within the astral is still a construct within this machine, this fifth dimensional machine that's from the fifth dimension. All timelines are experienced, and I was looking at some of Org's content. He mentioned this concept of time dilation, but it's absolutely true. For a 5D entity, time dilation's a no-brainer, because in the same way that we as 3D, or we as perceiving 3D within the fourth dimension of time, can experience our shadows. This shadow on the wall is a 2D entity, yet it's, by its very nature, it can't comprehend the higher dimensional aspect of its existence, which is a similar thing to what's going on with the soul, but perhaps outside of the 5D matrix, and perhaps even outside the 6D matrix. The sixth dimension, the fifth dimension encompasses space, time, but also all other possible timelines. Because a dimension is just a measurement from A to B. If you have 4D matrices, which are they encompass this sort of experience that we're having with linear time, you have a fifth dimension, and then all of a sudden you have multitude of timelines for various instances or permutations or quantum bifurcations of decisions at any given point in time. I might have chosen to not, I have chosen an alternative timeline to have not created this video. Therefore, me in a different timeline has been set off now, but it's happening an infinite amount of times, because there's no fine grain gradient, or there's no granularity in the fifth dimensional spectrum. It's completely linear. You can't quantize it. So this is quite a mind-boggling thing to comprehend, that at every instance in time, even though in the fifth dimension time is not really how we experience it now, but you can comprehend all instances of your experience. Therefore, things like the Mandela effect becomes a very possible thing, not only experientially, it doesn't matter if you've experienced or not, but also from a logical basis on what the fifth dimension should be, just pure deductive logic. That is something. And then obviously the sixth dimension, to my mind, thinking about it, like I said in the last, I didn't mention in the fifth dimension really, but the sixth dimension might be, the fifth dimensional matrix only accounts for the individual's experience. Now, if we define the soul as some kind of individuality, and the lines between in the astral plane in regards to the soul being partially individual, collective or not, is starting to blur at this point, mainly because we can't measure it, and it's pure speculation through intuition right now. But if we say, for the sake of argument's sake and modeling's sake of the cosmology, that the soul is a purely individual entity, then a 5D matrix can only account for a solipsistic experience, which is the soul is having one experience, and then all other conscious individuals is just the emanation of, or a byproduct of, the soul in and of itself. The soul is God. But I think that this machine is a co-created experience, partially by the one whose mind we're suspended in, what people call Mara, or the demiurge, Yahweh, Jehovah, this corrupted, inverted perversion of what life should be, which is, it should never die and there should be infinite creation, but you've got this duality, you've got this entropy, this chaos that's built into it, and it doesn't interact with its fellow beings through collaboration, which is what should happen in creation, closer to the source. No, where it's been created in ignorance, it is through its very nature inverted, so it's only means of interacting, and it's been rejected by the source, so it doesn't have that internal substance within itself, so its only means of getting that is through subjugation. It doesn't collaborate, but it subjugates because it's inverted, but it needs that which it lacks, which is this primordial energy of creation that we seem to have as sovereign entities, that has tunneled into this 6D, 5D, 4D matrix system. So it's that. But going back to the sixth dimension, these 5D matrices, under the assumption that the soul is sovereign at this point, the sixth dimension just accounts for all experience. It's a point from A to B of all individuals within this 5D concept. So it's my way of accounting for solipsism. And then the seventh dimension, I haven't concluded what that might be yet, but there's probably thousands of dimensions above this one in a mind fuckery, but having a 3D and barely comprehensibly 4D mind, it becomes near impossible to conceive of such existences. But we are experiencing it. It's just that this place is so dense, so constrained by a limited rule set, and we are designed to deplete so quickly. Long moments of emotional, deep emotional feeling or deep intellectual thoughts. They're extremely taxing on our bodies, on our minds. We can't sustain it. We should be able to sustain it infinitely. If I had infinite energy, I would be infinitely creating, but I can't. And then I go to work, come back, I want to do some artwork, some painting. So I don't have the energy sometimes. So the matrix just it extracts the creative energy of those who have the spark within them. The spark is a creative source, and is able to bypass the program and introduce something new, something that hasn't been seen before, something that hasn't been considered, or is able to take what already exists, reorganizes it in a way that's new, which is what in the demiurge in its inverted nature lacks. Notice now it just makes all these grey buildings, these dense, dull concrete, this concrete jungle to be cliche. It's these sort of fluorescent, flickering lights, and this poor quality food. Everything's a monoculture for them when it comes down to food, when it comes down to people, when it comes down to art, when it comes down to everything in this place. Everything is running under this program of tradition and convention, and keeping things the way they are, which is basically shit right now. I'm not going to lie about the situation. I'm beyond the point of caring about people's feelings. Anybody who is defending this place, anybody who wants to give this place the benefit of the doubt, or is lying to themselves because they think that humans are going to wake up in this great awakening, is kidding themselves. Because here's the facts: like, if you were asking the questions to begin with, and if there's a self-determination, there's the volition within you, within your soul, you will seek out the knowledge, you will ask the questions, and you will come to this conclusion. You need no help from anyone else other than to jolt that which you already know within you, or to put some intuitive concept into words. So that's it. You know, if you haven't figured out the absurdity that's just happened over the last couple of years, if you're still in that, or even if you're on the fence, I would say, but you're still you're still within the main animal farm, you know, I don't know what to say. It's just you know, they've given you everything you need to figure it out. You still haven't figured it out. So no, that's it. Like, I'm a complete loose hinge at this point in time. But yeah, I mean, going back to the original point about this 5 sensory program that we seem to be submerged within as an experience within the layer of the matrix that is the 4D matrix, which is most familiar to us. It appears to me that I think intuition is a 6th sense, because it tunnels through. It sees everything within an ideal form, and it, you know, in terms of like, you know, for instance, a sphere is an ideal form, yet it's replicated in nature, but nature can't seem to create an ideal. And, you know, it deals in the domain of archetypes, and that which can't be replicated here but seems to be a foundation or a principle through which all of the dynamics of creation come about. And, you know, there's mathematical concepts and relationships, and which produce geometric patterns within nature, you know, like phi and pi as 2 examples of that, which you can see all throughout nature, from the galaxies and the star systems, if they're actually a thing, down to you know, hurricanes, or you can see this golden ratio spiral. You can see it in I suppose you can see it in seashells, and apparently phi is within DNA strands. I mean, it's not precise, but you know, and that's a counter argument that some people will make for that, against it. Sorry, but like I said, like, nature doesn't produce perfect representations of the archetype, because it is imperfect. It is an imperfect system. But anyway, intuition deals with the principal foundations, and it resides within a higher dimensional domain of existence, where you're not affected by the product of, or you're not affected by the experience. You're almost a generator of the experience. That's where this infinite creative capacity comes from, because when you think about everything that humans have created here, and the vast majority of humans inherit a culture, and they run the program, right? But everything that originally came from a few people, the original idea, hadn't come from anywhere before, but it came from somewhere. It must have come from somewhere, right? And that's this intuitive domain. It's like it's like a sixth sense. I see it as a sixth sense. It's a portal or a tunnel to a place where the governing principles that operate as reality reside, and it's one of those things that I think you can cultivate if you have it, but also there's something about the human brain which kind of acts as to create like neuronal pathways or patterns within the mind to become resonant with how to describe it, to become resonant with that state of being. And it's like with language, for instance. You've got a concept, but you don't know where the thought came from, but who's thinking about that. And I think a lot of people like us think about this. We're almost like watching our own thoughts and our own emotions as if they're not quite us, because I don't know why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not even conscious of the point before I've decided to say something, or something has come out of my mind. Yet brain scans have shown that before you say something, it's already been predetermined. And the subconscious runs 95% of the show. So it's interesting, because when you're intuitive, you contemplate your own existence and what's happening here and what's going on, and I think it leads to a deeper understanding and appreciation of principles, and produces greater empathy as well, because you're not basing your decisions on other people, on cultural values. It's based upon an understanding of the psychological archetypes that exist between cultures, and a person might not necessarily fit into that archetype. But yeah, those are some thoughts about intuition. I might have something more to say later on, or actually I do think I'm going to start talking about the Jungian cognitive functions, to which they do correspond with the current cosmology that this community has generated, in that it talks about a dynamic in perception, which is between intuition and sensing, which to my mind is the same thing as the soul people here with the divine spark, and NPCs, or organic portals. And he also advocate that it was on a spectrum, and that we all have intuition and sensing, but it depends on which function you prefer to use. Do you prefer to see things from an abstract point of view, looking at the underlying cause of things, just to connect together seemingly uncorrelated context into this symphony, or this story, or how well it is that you model your reality? What questions do you ask, or do you prefer to just be reactionary based upon how things just appear to be, just adhering to the lower nature of your being affected by how you feel, being persuaded by group dynamics, to not really have an opinion of your own, to repeat what you've been propagandized with, because it's external program. Like I said in Natural Law videos, like the ego, the mind is it is programmable, highly programmable, but there's an external or an internal programmer. The external one is this hive mind, egregore, demiurgic cultural, or the cultural aspect of the demiurge, this human hive mind, this religious mindset. That is the external programmer for the sensory types, and then the internal programmer is the intuitive side, which is higher dimensional, which brings into this limited place a higher dimensional aspect that can only be limited within the rule set of this place, but it breaks the program, it changes things, which is what they want to co-opt through a dominance of the hive within the real estate of intuitive people to basically just use their creativity to further its own agenda. So yeah, I'll talk about that. And then there's also thinking and feeling, which are kind of like intuition and perception are intuition and sensing are perceptive functions. So it's how you take in information, and there's another set of functions that are judging, which is what you do with that information. How do you judge based upon that? And the two dynamics of that axis of the mind is thinking. So do you make your decisions based upon logical, based on logic, mathematics, and truthfulness within space and time, or do you base it based upon the social context of your community from a principled or ethical, and I emphasize ethical over moral context, because there's different expressions of thinking and feeling. There's different expressions of sensing. There's different expressions of intuition. It is multi-dimensional, but yeah, I look forward to getting into that and talking about more topics, and hopefully just sharing some of my more random thoughts as opposed to going into like heavy topics. But yeah, I look forward to carrying on, and I think I'm gonna leave it here. But yeah, take care everyone, and till next time.